Thank you for tuning in here live today. The frequency tuning. This is what we're going to be talking about, and we're going to get into a couple of other situations that's going on here right now. So, what is the big scenarios that we're talking about? Well, we just had that concert scenario where everybody was talking about it, and obviously something ritualistic seemed to be happening there. But we're going to give you more detailed aspect of what's happening today, and then get into that and talk about a tunable frequency that they're able to use. Because we were just talking about RNA control switches. It's interesting because in the movie Cell, it starts out at like an airport, and situations start to deteriorate from there. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I'm just saying I'm going to lead you up into some new technology, or just new to us. It's some stuff that people didn't know about this crazy event. The promoter behind it apparently has had a history of deaths and injuries at shows that pretty much happened. So I mean, I'm not gonna play any of the footage here because I mean you can go look at it yourself and everything else. But the injuries were 750 reportedly, and it was more dead than reportedly said. There's been lawsuits already filed. And if you look at the symbology, them going through a skull, and it's just, you can tell everything, and then going through portals, and you can see it in the imagery that they had already. You can tell that something wasn't right here. Now, the weird thing is, when you go deeper into it, here's a person that says, I just love Astro World Festival, and let me say this, as someone who's been to every Astro Fest, this was completely different, right? And I was looking at this, like I said, it looked like something out of the movie Cell where people get activated and just go wild. Am I saying that's what happened? I'm analyzing when I looked at the footage, not everybody was affected by whatever was happening. Now I get it. A lot of people had to go into it, was already VA, you know what it. And so is that another, scenario of something we can get into later? It was awful. I passed out because people were pushing up against me so much, and people were saying they couldn't breathe, so oxygen deprivation or something was happening there. It says Sam got people to apparently crowd surf my unconscious body to the security guard, and I got to carry out to a little section behind GA and put on a stool thing. When I woke up, I had a water bottle in my lap and had no clue what happened. When I stood back up, I looked around and people were getting carried out with eyes rolled back in their heads by security, bleeding from nose and mouth. I yelled. So again, we see now we're hearing that it was bleeding as well, coming from their nose and their mouth, which is a part I didn't hear. I yelled, has anybody checked the pulse? The security guard frantically asked me to help him. I checked two people. One did not have a pulse. I told them I was an ICU nurse, and the other security guard, hearing that, said, please come help us. And they say this one was completely different because nobody's seen people just run crazy and start trampling and stampeding each other. That's not something that we've seen. So, like I said, scenes from Cell started to pop in my head. Is there something else going on here? Is there something elaborate to do with everything integrated in the air, in the food, in the water, based on what people are going through right now in the world? Now, this is what I thought about. I thought about frequencies as well. Now, looked into something else. Check it out. Researchers demonstrate graphene-based nano-electromechanical periodic array with tunable frequency. Now, the other day I was talking to y'all about RNA control switches that they could use and turn on, and if somebody in military is weaponize it, they could take you out like that, just like that. So you can't breathe. You start seeing people, blood coming out. And you're like, what's going on here? So what's up with this tunable frequency? I want to read some of this to you because this means that obviously on other levels, this type of studies are happening. And I wanted to read it to you. Photophotonic crystals are artificial structures composite with periodic modulation of elastic parameters, and they are capable of regulating the propagation of sound waves. Devices with different geometric parameters have been made to regulate photon band structure. However, to achieve field adjustment of band structure remains a challenge. And so it starts to talk about how they can stretch the frequencies for miles with graphene. And obviously, reportedly, graphene has been put in the skies. They use it for CO2 mining. They use it in the you-know-what. I can't say, but you already know. So goes in to say, led by Professor Song, obviously Xing Zhang, from University of Science and Technology of China, the Chinese Academy of Science, experimentally demonstrated a graphene-based nano electromechanical periodic array, which acts like an antenna, just like the body of humans act like antenna once they take certain things. And the guy was just saying a few days ago, an expert was saying, well, humans will be hacked if we don't regulate. What you think is starting to happen with all this, experimentation of society? But anyway, with which the researchers realized a large number of quasi-continuous resonance modes over a large tunable frequency range. They say graphene is a relatively elastic two-dimensional material with mechanical properties similar to thin film. Besides, the good conductivity of graphene makes it possible for applied electrical field to stretch the graphene flake and modify its strain, changing its vibration frequency during the process. Therefore, the biggest advantage of graphene is that its resonant frequency could be electrically tuned. So they're saying that it could be electrically tuned. Obviously, the array is acting as an antenna. Array is an antenna, pretty much. And if I'm wrong, correct me. But pretty much once that happens, and then you have something in you of that material, then you can be tuned with a frequency. So the question is, were people tuned with a frequency? Were people a RNA, control switch or something like that happen? Does any of that happen? It's all just questions right now. But something happened that's never happened before. And if that was a beta test, then I was saying that maybe the possible scenarios is that people need to really definitely look into detoxing and need to really have EMF shielding clothes on. Maybe a lot more need to be done, because this is something that we haven't seen before. And if they're beta testing stuff like that, and I was thinking that the speakers and everything else would help the frequency in those type of arenas, or speakers anywhere. Remember in the movie Cell, they had to get rid of all the technology and just throw it away because it was actually hitting them and causing them to go insane. So that's an analysis. And when you analyze the footage, though, of what happened at that event, you can see that not everybody was affected. So to go further into the study, if you knew people there, I would like to know more further information about what was their VAX status and everything else, and whatever else the situation was. So again, it's crazy, but this is the human tuning frequency that they can use based on graphene. Let's read a little more. Researchers first etched the uniform periodic array of cylindrical nanopillars on the substrate, and then prepared the electrodes by micro nano fabrication. Finally, they transferred the graphene with appropriate thickness to prepare structure and realized a two-dimensional graphene-based NEMPA device. We need to look further into this. We need more studies on this, seriously. I'm going to be looking more into this. I'm going to have a lead-up video. Probably y'all think I should lead up and come back, talk about this more, because this is important information. So share this report out. And this just means they can tune anything if you have that in you. And you could be, obviously humans are on electrical field, and that's just how it works. And so once you got it in your body, though, then you really can be tuned. So we're here giving you the information. We appreciate all of you live. Remember to subscribe. We did a video just a few ago. We'll have it on the side about the VAX checkpoints that the military trained for way back, and I got the intel on the ground, and people are confirming that they actually had family members or people they knew that was actually helping with the VAX checkpoint. So I have that video up on the left. And remember the germ games, we talked about all that, and at the end of that video I had a helpful thing that you could take that pretty much the natives use against the pox. So remember, we got helpful information here. We're also talking about how we combat and beat stuff like this. We'll have more information coming. Thanks for tuning in. This was the live report for today. See you more tomorrow.